It's Rhythm and Soul Radio. I am Marco Nobles, and we have our virtual studio open, and we have a wonderful guest with us, and we're going to have a conversation a little bit about this new era of Broadway as Broadway is making its return, and after everything has been going on, and the diversity of the Great White Way. Part of it is evidenced by a new Broadway comedy called Chicken and Biscuits, and I have one of the stars of Chicken and Biscuits here in our virtual studio, Alana Raquel Bowers, who plays Simone in Chicken and Biscuits. Welcome, Alana. How are you?
Hi, I'm great.
Excellent.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us. Now, I'm going to start with the show itself. Now, the show is new to Broadway. But it's not a new show, and you've been with the show since 2018. So now 3 years. Obviously, 1 year is kind of taken away because of COVID, but you've been with the show since 2018, and you've always played Simone in the show, right?
Yes, I have.
Right. So talk a little bit about the journey of the show being in a production like this that has been off Broadway and now making its way to Broadway. Talk about and sticking with it, because a lot of times I would think, if you're acting in a production, you may not have the opportunity to be with it by the time it finally gets to quote unquote the pinnacle of getting to Broadway. But you've been able to be with it throughout the journey. So talk a little bit about that, and we can then explain to people what the show is.
Sure. Okay. So Douglas Lyons, the playwright, who originally is not a stranger to Broadway himself as a performer, he wrote this play that he wanted to hear out loud initially. He'd seen me in a couple shows and really enjoyed my work. So at the last show that he saw me in 2018, he told me, send me your email. I want to send you this script. And really just let me know what you think. That's how it really started. And I loved what I read. There were readings of Chicken and Biscuits throughout New York. We did a lot of readings at a lot of different theaters. We did a reading at the Billie Holiday Theater in Brooklyn in 2019. We went to Ripley Greer Studios, and the last reading we did was actually at Queen's Theater, which is where we had our world premiere at the top of 2020. We did that reading there, and so many different types of audience came to see that particular reading. The readings we were doing before were pretty industry run. So there were different types of people, but mostly everyone belonged to the theater for the most part. Queen's Theater was the first real reading we had where the general public saw what we created. And it got such a palpable response from so many different types of people that Queen's Theater wanted to join forces with our producing team and put it on its feet. So we were a part of Queen's Theater's 2020 season. So we had our first 2 weeks of performances at Queen's when COVID hit and everything shut down. So we opened there. It was a beautiful experience. They had so much love and respect and joy for the show and gave so much to us when we were there. And then we got shut down. And then throughout the pandemic, there were different conversations about where the script could go. There was talk of a movie. There was talk of, other renditions of the show. Different theaters wanting the show because our producing team is stellar. They really worked night and day trying to, get people to know that the show even existed, and two, to really gain some traction for people to want this show in their theater. I'd say 2020 happens crazy for everyone. We go into 2021 and there was a virtual reading for the show with Janet Hubert, who's the first Aunt Viv, as Benita, as the one of the main women in the show.
Right.
I was asked to do Simone again, and that team consisted of most of the people who you saw on stage on Broadway.
Okay.
So along with Ebony Marshall Oliver, who plays Beverly, and Anya Mizell, who plays Latrice, we all came from Queens.
Okay.
But you also saw Devere Rogers as Kenny, and Kenny was played by Devere in that reading with Janet Hubert as well.
Okay.
So we had that reading. It was a wonderful success, but we still weren't sure where the show was going to go. It was just a great way to get the show out there for people to know and see. And then later on that year, we heard it was going to Broadway. It truly took everyone by surprise in the best way. The director, Jalen Livingston, was also a part of this project for as long as I've been. He's been on it since its inception. Mm-hmm. And to have him continue the journey, his vision, the vision that Douglas wanted throughout the years, and eventually to his Broadway debut as well as the youngest Black director on Broadway, is just a wonderful thing to witness for me and to be a part of. Jalen is a very good friend of mine. So being able to work with him professionally and also to celebrate with him in that way is still a dream come true. So we found out it was going to Broadway in around April or May of this year. And I found out that I got the role later that month, that they wanted to stick with me.
Well, I was about to say, you don't have to audition again. You've been with the show for the,
well,
you've been a part of all the readings.
Broadway is it's a game. So, and I've never been. This is my Broadway debut, so this is new territory for me. And from what I know about the game of Broadway is, especially with plays, in order for numbers, right, to be at a certain level for the success of the show, they like to get celebrities to play roles of, especially when your show is not that many people. It's only 8 of us in Chicken and Biscuits. That's the full cast. So right. I just assumed that that's the road they'd be going. It's a great show for anyone. And there's so many opportunities, age-wise. So many Black women could take advantage of this opportunity and fly. I was just grateful to have been a part of it for as long as I had, and truly ready to surrender to whatever God had for the show and for me. But then I got the call and they said that, no need to audition, the part is yours. And that was, I couldn't believe it. I was questioning, I was asking, I was like, are you sure? Are you talking to my manager? I was like, are you sure? Are you sure that's what they said? Right. Are you sure? And that's what it was. So I believe Jalen told me something that I really will never forget. And it's truly how I've conducted my career thus far. I believe that if you, regardless of what stage your project is at, giving your all and devoting the time to the project that it deserves is crucial at any and every stage, because what happens is that with the morphing and the deeper connections that you make and the collaborations that end up being made, you find new gifts in what you've created. Mm-hmm. And when you put your all into it, everyone is different and everyone is unique. So when you put your unique spin on whatever you do, no one else can recreate that. So if you know yourself enough to know what you give and what you can offer, and you give that 100%, your things will always come to you because no one else can do what you can do. And I remember Jalen saying, you made it clear a long time ago that no one can do Simone the way you do, because you have placed your stamp, your unique, talented, idiosyncratic stamp on who she is, and we want the world to see what you've done with this character. So that's how I got there.
That's an awesome journey, and it's a real lesson for a lot of folks. I mean, I can take it personally because I have twin girls, and one of them, has always wanted to be on Broadway. Oh, wow. And so now when she gets to watch and hear this interview, she can really take a lesson like that, as she kind of goes about learning in the craft. I mean, she's in high school, she's early on, but as she pursues this, to whichever direction she pursues it, that's something she can really take with her. And I'm sure there are a lot of young girls who now are able to see you on Broadway and see representation of themselves and be able to kind of follow that. And I want to come back to the whole representation on Broadway. I want to come back to that, but let's talk a little bit about, and then we're talking with Alana Raquel Bowers, who is in the show Chicken and Biscuits, new Broadway comedy at Circle in the Square Theater. Talk about what Chicken and Biscuits is, because it's not food, though there's food references,
right?
But it is what. One of the things that the name implies is about family, and it is certainly about family and all that goes along with it. So tell everybody what Chicken and Biscuits is when they come to see it.
Chicken and Biscuits is a show about how family and how the traditions we've built as a family are tested, challenged, and brought to the light in times of grief, in times of sadness, in times of confusion. But when those conflicts rise and sort of bubble over, it's an opportunity for everyone in the family to be able to release whatever mask they came in with and surrender to honesty, and love, and to really get to the root of why the traditions of whatever family dynamic you're a part of, why those traditions exist at all, and whether or not they're helpful or harmful. And you see the characters make choices about how they want to live life after what you see. They enter in as one version, and then you leave the chapel, you leave the church, you leave the theater open-minded about how each character has evolved and how that will change the trajectory of the family dynamic as a whole. So I think the title is beautifully deceiving. Douglas wanted to keep the title Chicken and Biscuits for a reason, because you think you know what it's about,
Right.
You think you know how it's going to go, but I think everyone is pleasantly surprised at how deep those family conflicts go, how deep the characters go in revealing the issues, and then how similar you realize the characters are to either yourself or people you know.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then, you know, that identification is really powerful because it starts conversations, if not conversations within yourself, conversations within your own family.
Right.
And so I think Chicken and Biscuits is a beautiful secret. Like it's a great time. It's a bowl of laughter and love, the way that it's advertised, right? Like we are all having a ball. We're all having an amazing time. But once you get invited, once you sit down into the chapel, you're truly invited on the journey too. And I hope that once people leave, they are changed by what they see, and are open to where the show really does take them.
Right. Because it would be one thing, and we talked briefly. I did see the show, so it is like you said. You kind of start going in the one direction. It's this comedy. It's and the setting I think is really apropos, particularly when though it's not a play just for Black people on Broadway, but using a lot of us who are Black who will see it will recognize a lot of things immediately. The setting is a funeral, it's a Black funeral, and all the things that go along with that, and then interjecting some of these other elements around race and not so much politics, but politics in the areas of stereotypes and homophobia and those types of things. That is something that then goes beyond just being Black themes,
right?
And being able to see how that all plays itself out, and the fact that obviously the timing is what it is, given everything that's happened during the pandemic and the George Floyd and Emmy So White and the issues of diversity on Broadway, etc., that lead to Chicken and Biscuits and 6 other shows being new shows on Broadway that are led by Black cast members, or heavily prominent with Black people behind the scenes, or playwrights or directors, etc. And which brings me back to the representation issue, that now it opens up this avenue for this young generation or younger generation to see themselves on Broadway, which is as important as being able to see themselves on television and see themselves in the movies, because it's all connected.
It is. And I was one of those little girls who never saw herself being in a show, being in a principal role on Broadway in a play about a Black family that has little to nothing to do with their trauma or pain or life story about how they're just making it through. That sort of kitchen sink drama we were raised to believe where Black people could live, but nothing beyond. So this is a really important time for Broadway at large, for not just Black people, but for everyone, because there's a different set of tools, I think, that come with watching a new thing, right? Like, and I don't think any of us were equipped with the tools to watch Black people on stage just as Black people on stage. I think we've all been trained to assume something bad is going to happen. Somebody's going to die. Somebody's going to get raped. Somebody's going to,
Right.
the father's going to leave. Like we all have these ingrained ideas about how to watch Black bodies on stage.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Particularly how to watch Black women on stage.
Mm-hmm.
I think what this play does for the general public is it retrains your eyes. Because what you see is not what you get. Or what you think you see is not what you get. And I think that is a crucial tool for all types of theater makers, both old and new, to be able to learn and to see and to normalize.
And it's one of those things where they say art imitates life, but really that it's not necessarily true for people of color, because in many cases art doesn't imitate life because it's just one facet. That's what we see. And like you said, in Chicken and Biscuits, it's an opportunity for art to reflect life, which is what I think this play does. Because as you mentioned, to see Black women on stage in this way, when you look at the characters, there are levels and varying dynamics of Black women on stage. But what's interesting is all of them are successful in their own way. Like both of the daughters of the family patriarch who passes away, they are both successful in their own way, owning a business, being a tenured professor. I believe that was a profession.
Yes.
Your character Simone being
you never know her actual profession.
Yeah, you never know her profession, but she has made it to a degree, and she's looked at that way within the family. She's definitely has done well for herself.
Right. And you can tell in how she shows up.
Right. You see how she shows up, how she carries herself, how she stays away from the fray, but also is that very level-headed person that is can have everything under control. She is both of her parents,
right?
Type of thing. And so it is really an interesting way to see on Broadway the various layers of who we are as a people within this family dynamic, as you mentioned, of 8 people that you see on stage, in totality. Some more than others, but it's only 8. So and it's a true ensemble cast, which really makes it interesting.
And everyone has been so amazingly collaborative and excited about making the play the best thing it can be. My castmates are magicians. They really have taken this show to a level that is beyond my wildest dreams that I could have imagined for it. And it's just exciting to play with them every day.
Excellent. It's RhythmAndSoulRadio. We're talking with Alana Raquel Bowers. She is one of the stars of Chicken and Biscuits on Broadway now at Circle in the Square Theater. Certainly go get your tickets. There are discount codes. You follow us on Rhythm and Soul Radio. You hear our commercials. You hear the code in the commercial. Get the code so you can go to the box office or go to Telecharge and get your tickets at a nice discount, very reasonable. You don't have to think that you have to spend $200 and $300 to see a Broadway show. You get to see this show at a reasonable rate. and in an intimate setting. Circle in the Square Theater is a very intimate space, and it's a fun space just walking in the door with gospel music playing and welcoming you in, and not, you know, nothing wrong with it. If I qualify this now, not just traditional gospel and
Right.
and rocking in your chair in the hymns, but, you know, contemporary gospel. And when I saw it, you know, there were people starting to clap their hands and sing before the show started. So you really get into the vibe of the show. You talked about your journey with the show from 2018 up to that point, but you've been acting for a while now, even before 2018, and as you mentioned, that was something that you'd always wanted to do. Did you always see yourself as a young girl, like, I really want to be on Broadway, or was it just that you wanted to act, and then it kind of takes you where it takes you?
Yeah, I knew that I wanted to be a performer. I knew I wanted to be on stage, and there was nothing else that I could do. I knew that I wanted to share my gift and be seen as many different types of people that I could play. I thought that was the best thing, the best gift, the most fun in the world. Ever since I was 10, I just really enjoyed bringing light and laughter, not even just laughter, but just joy to people. It filled me up in ways that nothing else ever could. I am born and raised Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay.
So I went to a performing arts middle school and high school. So from 6th to 12th grade, I was focused on this dream of eventually making it to, not necessarily, Broadway was always the dream, but I never knew what it would look like or how it would come to be. I was a dancer first, so I assumed that being on Broadway meant a musical, because those were the things that I grew up relating to.
Right.
I sang as well, so I just thought that eventually I would, you know, bring all the forces together and it would work for my good in the realm of Broadway musical land.
Okay.
But I went to the Baltimore School for the Arts in Baltimore, and one of my teachers taught me that of how much power I had just standing still. And that just changed the trajectory of what I wanted to do. I still love dance. I love movement. I love singing. I love expressing myself that way. But there's something about just telling a story that I fell in love with. And that was where I decided to put my focus. So when I applied for schools, I didn't apply to musical theater programs like I thought I would. I applied to straight acting conservatories. And NYU was one of them. And that's the one I chose. NYU was an incredible experience. I was able to learn from giants in the industry. Robert O'Hara, Kent Gash, Michelle Shea, Donnie Frazier, Byron Easley, Michael McElroy, the list goes on. And all of these people are Black. So for the first time, I think, ever, I was immersed in the excellence of New York theater world, but they just happened to be on the bodies of Black people. And that was one of the biggest lessons that I could have had as a young 18-year-old artist, you know, with all of the ideas of wanting to do everything. I really got the best education, both on the page and off, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And then, so I graduated from NYU Tisch Drama in 2016, and I decided to stay in New York because New York was where I wanted to build my career, my life. So I started doing just, you know, festivals, short plays, short films. I met my manager the summer after graduation, and she is still with me. I love her. She has opened so many doors. But we started small, and I did, you know, I worked my way. I had to get a job. Because I had to pay for my apartment. You know, I did the day job life with other artists that also were doing the day job life for the same reason. So we were in the trenches together, and that was another beautiful family that was created. And the people you meet in those places really stick with you, because wherever you go, wherever they go, you all can help each other. And
right.
Despite what happens after, you never know how people will be blessings to you or how you can be a blessing to someone else. And that's just shown itself over and over again in the past 5 years. But in 2018, I graduated in 2016. 2017, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer.
Oh, wow.
So because of that, I had to get a full thyroidectomy, get my thyroid removed, have about a month, 6 weeks worth of rehab. So I went back home to Baltimore, and I really had to reconsider like how I wanted, because I thought I was late. I don't know. There's like a time clock in my brain where I was like, I'm late. I have so much to catch up on. But I have so much rebuilding to do, both within my body and also like in the craft. So I was nervous, but I decided to just start again from square one and continue building myself up financially so that I had the ability to survive artistically. So in 2018, some friends from school told me to check out this theater downtown called the Flea Theater, which is an off-Broadway theater, and it houses an off-Broadway theater company called the Bats. The Bats is a volunteer-based company that puts on different shows, but also is a safe space for artists to be able to contrive their own work. So I got connected with them and did a show called Scraps, which premiered in 2018, at the end of 2018, which was amazing, an amazing experience. I got my first New York Times write-up for that show, and it was amazing. And that's where I first met Douglas, the playwright of Chicken Biscuits. He came to see that show. And perpetually, you know, that show got me a lot of exposure. And by the end of that run, I was hired for my first off-Broadway job for a show called What to Send Up When It Goes Down by Alicia Harris. That show is probably one of the most important shows that I will ever do, because it was a ritual dedicated to the men, women, and children we've lost to racialized violence. And it's a beautiful piece, a beautiful experience for Black people that I was honored to be a part of from 2018 until this year. I got my equity card off of that show. So I stepped into the professional world, not only with my artistry, but also with my activism as well. And that really identified how I wanted to show up in this industry and allowed me to make some choices about what I decided to put my name on. And it brought me into my own power in that way, and how important my voice is and my body is on stage. So being strategic about what I choose to say yes to really opens, doing what to send up when it goes down, opened that door for me. So we took that show on tour. It's an amazing success. In between, 2018, 2019, I'm doing some TV gigs or some film stuff, but nothing too large. I booked a film that premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival in 2019 with Justin Long. At the top of 2020, I shot my first guest star role on a TV show. I was on FBI Most Wanted, which was really exciting and got me so hyped for television. I love TV now, and now I feel like that's where I want to transition into or go back and forth with.
Right.
So one opportunity led me to the other, and all of the opportunities that I've been able to have are because of what I described before about just continually putting in the work ethic, continuing to give what Alana's 100% is, and not trying to do someone else or be someone else, but do the work to figure out who I am at my core so that I can present that every single time. BSA taught me that, NYU taught me that, just the importance of knowing who you are, because that is what will put you in the room, and that is what will make you feel and be remembered. Because when you put on somebody else's shoes, they're only going to see the shadow of someone else's shoes. Allowing yourself to sort of make your mark and, stick your feet in the mud, no one else can fit that imprint. So I try to put that into everything that I do. And that has shown itself in my journey thus far. That has shown itself that if you stick with it, patience, dedication, determination, drive, you will see the fruits of your labor. And I feel like this is just the beginning for me of seeing the seeds that I've sown over the past 5 years of graduating from college. So yeah, I mean, I've always been a lover of the arts. I've always been one to express myself artistically. I've always been one to want to educate. Also, I come from a family of educators. So I'm just blessed to be able to educate in my own way.
Well, absolutely. Well, first of all, you are just beginning the journey, and you've done so much in the beginning of the journey. So, kudos to you. It was you just doing an interview like this is great for me because I just can let you go. I wish I had those gospel fills at the ready. So as you say say those things about stepping in somebody else's shoes, you don't see the shadow of those shoes. I could have that amen music ready. But now that I know, the next time we interview you, I'll be prepared because I know you'll have a jewel like that to share. It's Rhythm and Soul Radio. We've been talking with Alana Raquel Bowers. Excuse me. She is one of the stars of the Broadway Comedy Chicken and Biscuits. See, I can't even talk properly now. all because of you. And it is playing at Circle Square Theater. It is not on a limited run. It's open-ended run right now, right?
It's limited.
Limited as long until more people go and see it and say it's got to stay.
Right.
So everybody, you have to go see the show.
You have to January.
To make sure. Yeah. Right now it's still January, but if everybody goes to see the show, then it'll stay around a little bit longer, and Alana can educate us through her character that she plays in Chicken and Biscuits, and then we'll be able to see more of her on stage in Chicken and Biscuits, and then more of her on stage and screen and film along the way.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Alana, for taking the time and talking with us. This was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you, Marco. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's Rhythm and Soul Radio. We have more Rhythm and Soul Radio, so stay tuned, stick around. Make sure you go see Chicken and Biscuits.